This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Not gonna do it. Not yet.
Wouldn't be prudent.
Anyway, this is Wretched Radio. Wouldn't be prudent, at least not yet in my estimation. There is an art, there is a science to all things discernment related, and this is one such subject that is starting to break. I don't think that it has really been distributed widely yet. I suspect it will be. And until that time, my inclination is to just wait. Why? I think as a rule, now individual ministries, they can make these decisions for themselves, but at least for us here at Wretched, it's not our job to break stories and let people know about the latest problem or the latest scandal or the latest division. We just don't see that as our role, and so we tend to wait. And one of the rules of discernment that I think applies to all of us is that you have to wait to make a comment on something that is happening in evangelical Christianity until it is a widespread knowledge. What's the percentage? I don't know. Again, this is an art as much as it is a science. Is it 50% of the people? It's building steam. Can I jump in now? It looks like it's going to, the New York Times tomorrow is going to release an article on, can I talk about it today? There's going to be different people who make different decisions, but I think the rule nevertheless remains until a story, a national story, I think as a rule, we don't go looking for local stories. I mean, today we could have spent the entire day looking at dopey sermons from Easter Sunday. And we've done that in the past. We're just not going to do it. I mean, and we don't name those folks because what's the point? Some local pastor who thinks that he needs to drop eggs from a helicopter to draw the pagans to come to the church on Sunday and never quite get to the gospel, at least not in a robust kind of way. I got to tell you, a number of people sent these types of Easter stories before Easter. Here's what this church shenanigan is going to be to try to attract people to church on Sunday. You know, make the cross palatable. This whole Jesus rising from the dead. Cover it with an Easter bunny. Make it about chocolate, Reese's peanut butter cups, which are not a bad part of the Easter celebration, but they have nothing to do with the Easter celebration. And these churches that make every effort to make it look like fun and yippee-skippy time maybe are kind of forgetting Good Friday and the brutality and what it was that was accomplished on the cross and the implications that we are totally depraved, wicked, awful sinners who need God to die for us, to save us. And they turn it into a whoop-de-doo fest. And I have to confess, as I was receiving these stories sent to idea@wretched.org, I was getting I hope it was righteously indignant. Not just mad, because so many of these pastors have such a low view of the Bible, but because I meet the product of their efforts. When you go out to the campuses and you talk to and try to witness to a lot of students, and you ask them, hey, did you go to church as a kid? Yeah. I a few days ago, I know we were at Georgia State University, and a young lady named Mary, very nice young lady, went to church for 10 years. What's the gospel? Huh? The gospel. Can you tell? What's Easter? Can you tell me about Easter? Well, you know, you have ham and stuff. And you went for 10 years and you don't know the very basics of the faith? And it should cause us to get angry. The irony of it all is if you get upset with these teachers who never quite get around to preaching the gospel, as a rule, the evangelical community doesn't get incensed along with you. They get mad at you for being upset that somebody's not preaching the gospel. That's irony or something. It should upset us. We are... well, hold on a second. Wait.
What do you got there?
I got a story. U.S. church membership down sharply in past 2 decades. What's happened? Wait a second. We've been all cool and hip and mainline Protestants getting all liberal. You would think half of Americans are church members. Well, that sounds pretty good, but it's down from 70% at the turn of the century. We've dropped 20 points. Yikes. Most of them are saying no religion. It's not like they're going from Methodist to Lutheran. No, nothing. membership has fallen 9 points among those who are religious. So church membership, the beauty and the value of church. I mean, why join a church where it's just shenanigans and tomfoolery? There's no reason to do that. 73%, now this is 20 years ago, of U.S. adults with a religious preference belong to a church, compared with 64% today. That's 9% down. And this should upset us. And I think that we are seeing the results and the effects of the pragmatic movement, the seeker-sensitive movement that was intended to stem the tide of falling church membership. I think it's only made the wave bigger. And that should upset us. And yet what seems to happen is that people get upset with you for getting upset that there are preachers who never get around to preaching the gospel, and they create nothing but bitter backsliders. And I meet them all the time on university campuses. Where is the outrage? Where is the upset? Should we be annoyed that Bernie Sanders is doing well? Sure. But I think we should be more upset that you've got preachers. These are men who claim to be under shepherds of the Lord Jesus Christ who don't even know the gospel. That's where our angst should be. Politics, sure, you get as worked up as you want to. But shouldn't it be theological concerns, especially when the souls of men are at stake? Where is the out? We just posted a clip at our Facebook page, Wretched Network. Charles Spurgeon, incensed 150, 60, 70 years ago. Where are the men who will speak up and say, that is false, that is not the true gospel, that is not right, the downgrade controversy, dumb it down, dumb it down, dumb it down. It's been a trend for decades now. And we are seeing the full fruit of that today in the 21st century. Church membership down. People who call themselves Christian down. Why? Where are the churches? Where are the pastors that are preaching severe words to scare people? Isn't that, after all, the beginning of wisdom? Seems that they are long gone. And if you have any sort of righteous indignation at that type of preaching, look out. You're the one who's going to get some indignation. This story we're going to wait on, because it hasn't broken totally yet. We don't go looking for local pastors and local churches. There's no point in doing that. What about national pastors? Well, it depends. How widespread is the story? Quite honestly, 50 years ago, you would have probably never heard the story that I hold in my hand, that I'm not willing to share yet because I don't think it's my place. You just wouldn't have heard about it. It's only because of technology that you hear about such stories and you have access to such things. Nevertheless, that's the world we live in. What are the rules to the game? And I think the rules are, if everybody pretty much knows about it, go ahead, speak about it if you have something that can contribute in at least a slightly unique way. For instance, maybe you read this story over the weekend, another breaking story. And I see no reason to discuss it anymore. It's a very famous pastor who I think it's been made clear already, had a love for money. He was abusive in his leadership, and he's been booted. So now we discover his annual salary was like $2.6 million. Okay. And what do I have to say about that? Nothing. We just didn't know the extreme of it. But we already knew about it. What's the point in just drubbing on it? Well, a lot of people dig that. They like to hear it. It's this kind of Christian gossip. It's like political gossip, or it's just regurgitating the same story with a slightly updated version of it, or a new piece of breaking news to discuss. I don't think we need to be doing that. Now back to our original story that we're not going to talk about. It's big. It is a big story. And I'll be honest with you at this moment. First of all, I don't know that I have anything really to add to it, other than it's still a wait-and-see sort of affair. You're going to hear about it, I suspect, and when you do, we'll try to, if we think that we can add something that is unique and helpful, we'll talk about it. Otherwise, we won't do that either. There's rules to discernment. Now, not going to talk about that story, but I'll share a quote from Martin Lloyd-Jones that happens to be about that subject. Martin Lloyd-Jones. The people, they say, are interested in politics. They're interested in social conditions. They're interested in the various injustices from which people suffer in various parts of the world. So they argue. We see that today, don't we? If you really want to influence people in the Christian direction, you must not only talk politics and deal with social conditions in speech, you must take an active part in them. But, said Martin Lloyd-Jones, I have no hesitation in asserting that what was largely responsible for emptying the churches in Great Britain was that social gospel preaching. It was more responsible for doing so than anything else. The concern about social and political conditions and about the happiness of the individual has always been dealt with most effectively when you have had reformation and revival and true preaching in the Christian church. My argument, says Jones, is that when the church performs her primary task, these other things invariably result from it. Nothing new under the sun, is there? Until tomorrow, go serve your king.